Hello everyone and welcome to 12 Days of Sketchmas. It's officially day 5 and we'll be doing Star Collector for the prompt. So for this I get lots of ideas, but the one thing we're going to do is an illustration. Now this is actually a reimagining of an illustration I did a few years back for a very similar prompt for Star Collector. This is actually a reused prompt from a few years ago and I loved the idea so much that I wanted to go back, revisit it, maybe redraw her and have a little bit of fun. She doesn't actually have a name yet, so if you want to give her name suggestions, feel free to down below. And she's sort of like a genie-esque spirit, magical girl-esque character who collects people's wishes from stars and helps to make those wishes come true. I wanted to give her sort of like a very genie feel to her with like a high ponytail, big bow, the sort of like really curly shoes, and I wanted to have this giant scarf that turns into a familiar, which is a star as well. I really wanted a very wholesome feel to this illustration. Now the original idea was that she was going to have a net, and I changed that up just because it didn't really suit what I wanted to do. I wanted lots of lines of action, space sort of theme, and very warm tone colours. So we're mainly using blues, purples, pinks and yellows here. So if you ever want to create like a sort of prompt with Star Collector, if you want to create an illustration, create a craft, you do whatever you want to do. I would love to see it. Please tag me. I've been absolutely amazed seeing everyone's work, and it's just been so much fun to actually see everyone's like fantastic projects that they've been working on for the same prompt list, and I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm glad that people have been enjoying the videos as well. And this overall, I think this might be one of my favorite illustrations I've done in quite a while. I really love like blending markers, and I don't often actually get to do a lot of marker illustrations, just mainly marker. I tried to do a lot of mixed media stuff, and I did think originally I was going to do a marker only illustration, but I ended up using a little bit of pencils to be able to build up the texture that I wanted and kept to very soft lines. So in the end, I think the only fine line that I did end up using was just a little bit to sharpen her eyelashes. Other than that, it's mainly pencils and alcohol markers that I used it. So when I was thinking of the idea of Star Collector, I wanted it to be someone who collects stars or collects wishes, and I knew I wanted a very fantasy themed for it. I was thinking of actually originally changing up my original idea and not having this like sort of like genie-esque spirit character, but I really love this idea so much. I love like all the colours in this, and I'm gonna keep on saying how much I love this because I really do. I am super proud of this illustration. This illustration will also be available to Patreons this month. So for Patreons, you will notice that you've got the print in your little pack for this month as well. It'll be in the video link, so I really hope that you like it. And I don't know, this was just an awful lot of fun. So if you're going to be doing a full illustration with markers and you're wanting to build up texture on top with pencils, the way I normally do it is I build up my flat base with markers. You'll notice I'm going back and forth between a lot of colours here, and that's what I like to do is when I'm going from a darker colour to a lighter colour and I don't quite have a mid-tone to blend in between, I like to oversaturate certain areas so that it has like this really collective feel to it, so it blends a lot easier. And for that, the areas that don't blend an awful lot, what I like to do is I like to go back over them and just keep trying with the different colours, and if that doesn't work, go over a little bit of pencils just to create like the ideal shapes that I want and everything like that. I wanted to stick to a lot of darker blues and purples for the background, with like sort of like the pink being towards where her feet is, so it looks like she's landed. She's like shooting on a star and like she's landing, and it's almost like creating like this space behind her. I don't know, it was just really fun to play around with. one of the things that's very interesting about this sort of prompt list and doing, because this technically is my full first illustration so far for Sketchmas. I know we worked on the character design and we have done stuff that's involved illustration, but we haven't done anything that's been classed as a full illustration so far. Now we're going to really push this out. I've actually been inspired by an animated series that's on Netflix at the moment called Over the Moon. Recommend it. It's got a lot of beautiful East Asian vibes in it, and has a lot of relations to the story of the moon rabbit, and I do recommend it to people because just from an animation point of view it is absolutely beautiful. I'm actually really excited to get my art book so that I can keep flicking through it, because I'm just been so inspired by that lately, especially just the color palette, and I think that's what really went into this piece as well, because I couldn't stop thinking of bright, bold colours and lots of different directions that I could take it. I often find that when I'm working with markers, my markers end up all over the table. So what you're actually seeing here right now, this tiny little screen that's in front of you, you don't want to see the rest of the desk. It is like the pen massacre has hit. There is pens everywhere. I did end up finding out that I actually had quite a few dried up markers thanks to this, but I've had a lot of these markers for an awfully long time, so it doesn't surprise me there. So after I've built up my base with my markers, I'm going through with the pencils and deepening my shadows. I decided against obviously using a fine liner for this one, and you will see me later on. I'm actually going in with some acrylic pens to go and do like my stars that I did later on, but that's later on. I'm trying to deepen certain areas, deepen my shadows, because I find that sometimes with alcohol markers, there's only so deep you can go color wise with alcohol markers. It's sort of like it's really interesting because even the deepest tones sort of end up looking slightly pale, if that makes any sense. So I like to go in with colored pencils and build up that texture. It would have been really good actually if I'd included a little bit of watercolor in the background, especially for that space theme. That would have worked so well. But there are, overall there's a lot of things that when we're illustrating we can go back and change, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about illustrating. And I know some people may say it's pessimistic, but I think if you can look at your work and see how you can improve that work instead of saying, oh, it's awful, they'd be like, okay, this is good about the illustration, but this and this can be improved. Like for example, I really like the colours of this illustration. I do think some of the anatomy is a little bit off. I love the back leg in particular. I just love how that pointed toe goes. I love that line of action, but I think the arms are a little bit too long and the head's a little bit too big. Like, there's stuff that you can look at and go, okay, if I was to draw this character again, or if I was to draw this illustration again, how would I improve it? And that's just self-analysis and self-improvement. I genuinely think that everyone, if you want to do this, like, it's a really good way of sort of analysing yourself and trying to improve on yourself. I definitely think since the last time I did this sort of illustration, a very similar illustration, I've definitely improved with my colouring. I think my work is not as stylized as it used to be. I think it's lost a little bit of this pizzazz here and there. Some of my anatomy has improved, but my backgrounds have definitely gotten better. There's always stuff that you can look at and improve on and keep on, and that's why every time we draw, and I say keep on drawing because you improve every single time. I genuinely believe that even if there's drawing that you think isn't excellent, you can see the improvements that you have made. Not every drawing you're going to do is going to be perfect. In fact, every drawing you do is not going to be perfect, but it's good to look at your work, analyze, and carry on that spirit, so to speak. The overall illustration took around about 6 hours to do, and luckily I had some good podcasts to listen to. In fact, I want to know, what podcasts have you been listening to, or have you been watching something while you have been creating to sort of like focus your mindset? I find myself watching a lot of podcasts at the moment, or I watch a lot of K-dramas as well. I'm also really into D&D, so I listen to a lot of D&D podcasts, or I listen to D&D guides because I'm a dungeon master for a campaign, which is going to be a second campaign soon, because that original campaign went on hiatus, but that's a long story anyway. But I find myself like out listening to other people being creative while I'm being creative really helps motivate me. I'm really into watching a lot of studio vlogs lately and seeing how other people's businesses run. I like seeing the behind the works, but that's just me. I personally really love that sort of stuff. And so you can see here, as I'm going into the background, like quite where areas weren't deep enough. Now I have the full range of colours of Pro markers, from their old branding to their new branding, and I still find that there's a lot of colours that I'm missing on that. And there's over 100 colours, like there's a lot of colour range in the Pro markers, but even then there's just stuff that isn't deep enough for me. I know a lot of people will say, but hey, you could totally do that with Copics. I don't like Copic markers. I like the Copic sketch because they're bullet nib. I don't like brush tip markers. I have a massive issue with them. I find that they dry out stupidly easily. I find that the ink quality does not last as long, and they are really nice for blending, but they are just not for me, and that is absolutely fine. So how are you guys getting on with Sketchmas? If you're going to get involved, no one has to take part, but if you're taking part and you're just doing one prompt, that would be amazing. I'd love to see what you would do. And if you were to do one prompt, what prompt would you do? I think personally, one of my favorite prompts has been Star Collector. I really I'm so excited for you to see the rest of it, because I'm so excited for you guys to see what I've been working on, and I've had an awful lot of fun working on this. It definitely has been a challenge working to produce a video and get a video out every single day, because some videos take several days to film, especially when it comes to art. Videos take several days to film, and that's including editing, and then other videos don't take as long to film, so it's sort of that juxtaposition, like I could have all the videos in the world, but it would affect the quality of them as well, and I'd rather not, if that makes any sense. I've been really looking for what I would like to do for 2021 and how I'm going to branch out and improve, and I really want to do more streaming, and that would include gaming streams as well, because I really want to continue our quest with Spiritfarer. I've been loving Spiritfarer, and I've just got a new game called Summer of Mara. Really beautiful game, and I've really enjoyed that. I really like video games. I just don't often get time to play them. I often play them in my downtime, like before I'm going to bed, or just like if I'm chilling for a little bit. I find that they've been really good if I'm having like a bad day with my flare-ups with fibro. So like they've been really comforting, because some days you can do more than others, but I digress. So going to the final parts of this illustration, just adding highlights in certain areas, cleaning up certain lines. If I had to pick a favourite part of this illustration, it's at the bottom where the feet are. I love all those swirls and like the colour contrast between like the golds and the purples. It's possibly one of my favourite areas and colour variations. But here we have the final illustration. I'm really happy with this, and yet again this full illustration will be available to Patreons for this month, and I'm really thankful that people have been watching these videos. I've been having an awful lot of fun doing them, and I hope you're excited for tomorrow's prompt, which is going to be Winter Wishes. I'm really excited to share that with you as well. I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep drawing, love what you do, and as always folks, stay creative.